Scientists have mapped an adult fruit fly's brain. Don't worry, I'll tell you what that means and why it's important. Hi there, everyone. Jeff here, and welcome to Plain English, where we help you upgrade your English skills with stories about current events and trending topics. You listen here, and you get exposure to new words and new ideas in your new language. Well, that's a great intro into today's topic, which is a scientific one. That means you are not the only ones learning new words in English today. I am too. We've definitely got some scientific terms in today's story, but I'll try to give the definitions of the important ones as we go along. In the second half of the episode, I'll show you how to use the English expression on a roll. This is episode 724, so the easy way to get the transcript is just type plainenglish.com/724 into your browser bar. That will take you to the lesson homepage with the quiz, exercises, transcript, translations, and more. plainenglish.com/724. Before we start today's story, I'd just like to remind you that the podcast is just one part of how we can help you upgrade your English skills. At plainenglish.com, you can make faster progress with active learning strategies. You can take quizzes, do activities, listen to the fast version of the audio, watch video workshops, practice what you learn, and even join a live call with JR and me. It's all about helping you build your skills to become a better, more confident English speaker. Sound good? Go to plainenglish.com to start your free 14-day trial today. Now, let's jump into today's story. A team of scientists has just mapped every cell and every connection in the brain of an adult organism. That map is called a connectome, and the organism was a fruit fly. A fruit fly is about 3 millimeters long and lives, on average, between 40 and 50 days. Still, the detailed mapping of the fly's brain could power a greater understanding of the human brain in the future. To understand why, let's have a quick biology lesson. A neuron is a type of specialized cell. Neurons are the building blocks of our whole nervous system, including the brain. A synapse is a small gap between two neurons. So here's how a brain cell communicates with another. The first neuron releases a chemical called a neurotransmitter into the synapse. Remember, that's the empty space between cells. So a brain cell releases a chemical into the space next to it. The chemical then connects to a nearby neuron, and that second neuron can then generate its own signal and release chemicals into the next synapse, forming a chain. The chain can be long or short, depending on where the message needs to go. And that is how information travels through your nervous system. In the average human brain, listen to this. In the average human brain, there are 86 billion neurons, 86 billion cells. And there are 100 trillion synapses on average. That means, on average, each of those 86 billion cells has a connection to over 1,000 nearby cells. The connections between the neurons are an important part of why animals behave the way they do. If you touch a hot stove, the neurons connect your sensory receptors to your muscles and you pull your hand away. If you take a bite of a mango, your neurons will tell your brain that it's sweet and familiar, and your brain may then tell your muscles to keep eating. But if your stomach is full, your brain may tell your muscles to slow down. This is good. But our neurons and synapses also contribute to behavior that we don't want. They can be part of the reason why some fall into addiction, why some people's memory fails them as they grow older, why some people develop tremors or have difficulty with their balance. Understanding how all our 86 billion cells interact with each other is a long way off, but you have to start somewhere. In 2019, scientists created a connectome, the brain map of a very simple worm. Its brain has just 300 neurons. Then, in early 2023, scientists published the connectome of a larval fruit fly. This is a fruit fly in its very early days. It has about 3,000 neurons. Next came a connectome of a region of an adult fruit fly's brain with 27,000 neurons. You see where this is going. So now, in 2024, a different team of scientists has mapped the connectome of an adult fruit fly with 140,000 neurons and 55 million connections. The size of these brain maps is getting bigger and bigger. Now, a fruit fly might not seem like a complex organism. You might think there isn't much we can learn from something so small. But don't underestimate, a fruit fly might not seem like a complex organism. You might think there isn't much we can learn from something so small. But don't underestimate a fruit fly. The fly's brain might be small, but it processes sound, smell, touch, and vision. It uses that information to search for food, to learn about and remember its surroundings, to seduce a romantic partner, to avoid predators, and to warn others of threats. In other words, fruit flies do a lot of the things that we do, albeit on a smaller scale. So studying the fruit fly's brain can still reveal basic principles of how organisms make decisions and move through the world. Now that a full connectome has been developed, the process can be scaled up to study larger animals. A mouse's brain is about 500 times bigger than a fruit fly's, and a mouse is closer to humans in the evolutionary family tree. Understanding how a mouse's brain works would allow researchers to make stronger hypotheses about how human brains work. This work is already underway. Several scientific teams are starting to build out a connectome of a mouse piece by piece. This is long, hard, and expensive work. But if other similar projects are any guide, the cost and time required to map sections of a brain will only decrease with time. If you've heard of the Human Genome Project, the connectome is like another piece to the puzzle for what makes us human. Our genes are unchanging parts of our DNA, and they affect things like our appearance, body structure, susceptibility to certain diseases. They contribute to our personality. The Human Genome Project was a map of our genes, which we are born with. A connectome is a map of a brain, which is partially the result of genes and also partially the result of our experiences. Put these two together and we'll have a much better understanding of what it means to be alive. On a roll. On a roll is an expression we use to talk about good luck, good fortune, or success. But not just one success. If you're on a roll, you're winning repeatedly, over and over, for a period of time. And those wins can be external or internal. By external, I mean successes in the real world. By internal, I mean you feel energized or motivated. Let's look more closely at what I mean by each of these. We'll start with external success. So I don't gamble. In fact, I've been to Las Vegas twice, and if you add up all the money I've gambled in Las Vegas, you get $1. The first time I went, I put $1 into a slot machine, and that was it. I just didn't need to do it again. But some people do like playing the slots, and sometimes people get on a roll. That's part of the appeal. What does it mean to be on a roll at a slot machine? You win once, and that's good luck. But then you win again. All right, now we've got something. And then you win yet again, and pretty soon it feels like you can't lose. You're on a roll because luck seems to be on your side, and you keep winning. You have multiple wins, multiple successes. But being on a roll isn't always about luck. You can be on a roll if you experience a series of professional successes. So let's say that you're in sales. And if you're in sales, you know that sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. So what might being on a roll look like if you're in sales? Maybe you get a new client one day. They played better the next week. They won again. And then last week, they had an excellent game and won 35-16, which was a big win in football. So the Bears are on a roll. They've won 3 games in a row, and each game has been better. So they're experiencing a series of successes, one after another. They're on a roll. So that's what I mean by an external success in the real world. It's winning at a slot machine. It's landing some new clients. It's winning a few games in a row. But being on a roll can also be about how you feel. And this is what I mean by internal success. So tell me if this sounds familiar. Sometimes you feel like you're just getting through the day. Sometimes just getting through the day is a struggle. But other times, you have a lot of momentum and you have a lot of internal energy, and it feels like you can continue working easily, or you can continue doing what you're doing easily. When that happens, you're on a roll because you have internal energy and momentum. You feel like you can continue for a long time. Writers can get on a roll. If you've ever written anything, a long report, a novel, or a podcast episode, whatever, if you've ever written anything, you know what this feels like. Sometimes it's hard to get words on the page. After an hour, you need to take a break. You're out of ideas. Maybe you don't even like what you've written. That happens to me. But other times, the words flow freely. An hour passes and you barely notice. You want to keep going. The ideas are coming into your head faster than your fingers can type them. You're focused. It doesn't even feel like work. You're on a roll. Now notice, this isn't about external success. It's not about anything happening outside of you. It's about how you feel. Okay, now imagine you have a regular weightlifting workout. It's typically 45 minutes, and that's enough to leave you feeling exhausted. But one day, you finish your workout and you feel amazing, full of energy instead of tired. Since you're feeling great, you decide to keep going and head out for a 30-minute run right afterward. You're on a roll. You've got a burst of energy and confidence. You don't want to stop. If you're on a roll, take advantage of it. Go for it. Lean into it. Okay, so those are your two ways to use on a roll. You can use them with external, more concrete, real-world successes, and you can use them for that feeling of having momentum and internal energy. Here's an example that illustrates the difference. Sally Rooney is one of JR's favorite authors, so she's on a roll. She has had those external successes, but creative people have good days and bad. And if you picture Sally Rooney writing for 3, 4, 5 hours at a time, that's what it means to be on a roll on a more internal level. Well, if you made it this far, then you are on a roll with your English, and I am so proud of you for that. The best way to keep up the momentum, to stay on a roll, is to do the quiz, the activities, and the practice that we have for you at plainenglish.com/724. Get those little successes that build your confidence, build your momentum. You don't have to do too much, just a little at a time, and you'll stay on a roll. If you haven't tried out our premium features, they're great. They're pronunciation, listening, and grammar exercises, among others. So get on there at plainenglish.com and start a free trial of all our premium features. We'll be back on Thursday with a new lesson. It's about food. See you then. Listen up. If you speak Spanish, Portuguese, Chinese, German, French, Italian, Japanese, Polish, or Turkish. One of the most frustrating things about listening and reading in a second language is being confused by unfamiliar words or phrases. When you listen to plain English, or when you read the transcript, you probably encounter some words you don't know. When that happens, you have a few options. You can stop the audio, Go look up the definition, then return to the episode, find your place, and press play again. But that's exhausting. Or you can just skip it and be confused. That's no fun either. But what if you could see the translation of the word into your language instantly without having to stop the audio, without having to look anything up? Well, you can at plainenglish.com. For each episode, we translate about 100 words and phrases from English to 9 languages: Spanish, Portuguese, Chinese, German, French, Italian, Japanese, Polish, and Turkish. And we highlight those words in blue. All you have to do is hover your mouse over the highlighted word, and you'll see the translation instantly. It works great on mobile too. It really makes listening a lot more satisfying, and it's a great way to expand your vocabulary in English. The best way to see these translations is to sign up for a free 14-day trial at plainenglish.com. During your trial, you can read as many transcripts as you like, all with the translations into your language. So sign up for your free trial today at plainenglish.com.